The fog rolls in, silent and heavy. A killer waits in the dark. My name is Detective John Harrow, retired after 30 years chasing shadows. I've seen blood on pavement, lies in eyes, and cases that never close. The Zodiac is one of them. A ghost who murdered, taunted, then vanished. This is his story, pieced together from case files, witness whispers, and my own sleepless nights. By the way, if you're listening to this story in the middle of the night, or lying in a dark room or somewhere on your way home, leave a comment telling me where you are and what time it is. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so every time I tell a new story, you'll be the first to hear it, in the right place, at the right time. It began in Vallejo, California, December 20th, 1968. David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were young, in love, parked on a quiet lover's lane off Lake Herman Road. They were planning a future. Instead, they met death. A car pulled up around 11 p.m. Shots rang out, sharp, deliberate. David took a bullet to the head, dead before he hit the ground. Betty tried to run. 5 shots in her back stopped her. No robbery, no sexual assault, just cold execution. Police found shell casings, .22 caliber, and tire tracks. No witnesses, no motive. 7 months later, July 4th, 1969, Vallejo again. Darlene Farron, 22, and Michael Majot, 19, parked at Blue Rock Springs, just miles from the first scene. Another car approached. A man with a flashlight stepped out. No words, just gunfire. Darlene died, 9 bullets tearing through her. Michael, shot 4 times, survived by sheer will. He described a stocky man, 5 feet 8 inches, brown hair, no accent. The killer drove off. At 12:40 a.m., a man called Vallejo police claiming both attacks. His voice was calm, emotionless, like mine now. He knew details only the killer could. Bullet counts, positions of bodies. The scenes were chillingly similar. Remote parking spots, young couples, no clear reason. Police were stumped. No fingerprints, no murder weapon, just shell casings and a survivor's shaky memory. Vallejo was small, working class, not ready for a predator like this. Fear crept into the town. People locked doors, avoided dark roads. The killer wasn't done. What struck me, even years later, was the precision. He didn't hesitate. He didn't linger. He chose his moments, his victims, like a hunter. But why these kids? David and Betty were high school sweethearts, no enemies. Darlene was married, a waitress, known for her charm. Michael was a friend, nothing more. No connections between the victims, no shared secrets. Just ordinary lives snuffed out. Investigators combed the scenes. Lake Herman Road, gravel, blood, and silence. Blue Rock. Springs. More casings, .9mm this time. Michael's account was all they had. He saw a white man, maybe 200 pounds, wearing a dark jacket. No face, just a silhouette against the flashlight's glare. The killer's call to police was traced to a payphone, but no prints. He was a ghost, even then. The case files grew thick. Detectives worked overtime, chasing leads that went nowhere. A local drunk, a jilted lover, nothing fit. Then, on July 31st, 1969, the killer reached out again. Not with bullets, but words. 3 letters arrived at 3 newspapers: San Francisco Chronicle, Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald. Each held a cipher, a code, and a claim. I am the killer. The Zodiac was born. Those letters changed everything. He wasn't just a murderer. He was a showman, craving attention, control. The ciphers were his game, the murders his stage. I've stared at those pages, yellowed now, trying to see what he saw. A mind that planned, that taunted, that slipped away. Vallejo was just the beginning. The letters came like a cold wind. They carried his voice, his game, his name. By late July 1969, the Zodiac had killed 3, wounded one, and vanished into Vallejo's shadows. Then, on July 31st, 3 envelopes arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald. Each contained a handwritten note, a piece of a cipher, and a demand: publish or I kill again. The words were deliberate, almost polite, but the threat was real. He claimed the Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs murders, detailing bullet counts and victim positions, facts only the killer could know. He called himself the Zodiac. I've held those letters, or copies of them, in gloved hands. The paper felt heavy, not from ink, but from intent. Each cipher was a grid of symbols: circles, triangles, squares, some reversed, some filled. He said they held his identity. The Chronicle published their piece on August 1st, 1969, front page. The others followed. The public was hooked, the police humiliated. A killer was dictating terms. The first cipher, dubbed the 408 for its symbol count, was cracked within days. Donald and Betty Harden, a teacher and his wife, pored over it like a puzzle. By August 8th, they had it. The message was chilling: I like killing people because it is so much fun. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife. No name, just madness. The other 2 ciphers, longer and denser, stayed locked. Even today, only one more has been solved. The letters kept coming. August 7th, 1969, another to the Examiner. He mocked the police, described his joy in hunting humans. The best part is when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all I have killed will become my slaves. His words were a performance, each line crafted to shock. He demanded his ciphers be printed, his story told. The press obliged. San Francisco was no longer just a city, it was his stage. Police were drowning. Vallejo PD, small and underfunded, leaned on San Francisco's resources. Inspectors Dave Toschi and Bill Armstrong took lead. They chased the letters, the ciphers, the voice from that July payphone call. Linguistic experts studied the writing, formal, almost educated, but with odd misspellings like paradise for paradise. Deliberate, sloppy, no one knew. Graphologists analyzed the handwriting, slanted, erratic, but consistent across letters. No matches in criminal databases. The ciphers were the real trap. The 408's solution gave hope, but the others, 340 symbols, sent November 8, 1969, and another in 1970, resisted. Cryptographers, FBI, even Navy codebreakers tried. Nothing. I've stared at those grids myself, late at night, wondering if the answer was a name or just another taunt. In 2020, a team of amateurs cracked the 340. It read, in part, "I'm not afraid of the gas chamber. I kill for pleasure." Still no name. He'd planned it that way. The letters weren't just puzzles, they were control. Each one mocked the police, dared the public. He claimed more victims. 37, he said in one note. No proof, but the fear was enough. He wrote about bombs, school buses, even a death machine he'd built. Was it real, or just another layer of terror? Toshi once told me, off the record, he felt the Zodiac was laughing at them all. I believe it. What struck me was his need. Most killers hide. He performed. The ciphers, the boasts, the precise details. He wanted to be seen, but never caught. I've known men like that. They leave clues not to help you, but to prove they're smarter. The Zodiac was a shadow, but his words were loud. They reached beyond Vallejo, beyond 1969, into every corner of San Francisco. By fall, he was more than a killer. He was a myth. The letters stopped for weeks, then returned with new demands. Each one tightened the city's nerves. Police doubled patrols, checked payphones, interviewed hundreds. Nothing stuck. The Zodiac was out there, watching, writing, waiting. Then, on September 27th, 1969, he struck again, not with a pen, but a knife. The air turned sharp that fall. The Zodiac was hunting again. September 27, 1969, Lake Berryessa, a quiet reservoir north of Vallejo. Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, were students, picnicking on a peninsula by the water. It was late afternoon, sunlight fading. They were alone, or so they thought. A man approached, stocky, wearing a dark jacket and a hood, black, square, with a white circle cross symbol on the chest. He carried a gun, a knife, and pre-cut ropes. He claimed he was an escaped convict, needed money, their car. Brian offered his wallet. The man tied them up, then stabbed them. No words, just deliberate thrusts. Cecilia took 10 wounds, Brian 6. The attacker walked away. Brian survived, barely. Cecilia died 2 days later in the hospital. The killer left a mark on the door of Brian's car. He wrote in black marker, Vallejo, December 20th, 1968, July 4th, 1969, September 27th, 1969, 6:30, by knife. Dates, times, methods, his signature. A payphone call came at 7:40 p.m. to Napa police. A man, calm, claimed the attack. "I'm the one who did it." The phone was traced to a booth in Napa. No prints, no trace. 3 weeks later, October 11th, 1969, San Francisco. Paul Stein, 29, a cab driver, picked up a fare in the Presidio Heights neighborhood. Around 9:55 p.m., at Cherry and Washington Streets, the passenger shot him in the head with a 9mm. No robbery, no struggle. The killer tore a piece of Stein's bloodied shirt, took his wallet and keys, and walked away. 3 teenagers across the street saw it. They described a white man, 5 feet 8 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, stocky, glasses, short hair. Police arrived minutes later. A mistaken radio dispatch, describing the suspect as black, let the real killer slip through a search grid. The Stein murder was different. Urban, not rural. A lone man, not a couple. A gun, not a knife. But the pattern held. Precision. No motive. No evidence left behind. 2 days later, October 13th, a letter arrived at the Chronicle. It contained a bloody scrap of Stein's shirt. The Zodiac claimed credit, mocked the police, and threatened more. School children, bombs. School buses are such an easy target. San Francisco froze. Parents kept kids home. Patrols tripled. The timeline shows a killer evolving. Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs were impulsive, chaotic. Lake Berryessa was planned. Hood, ropes, the symbol. Stein's murder was bold in the city's heart. Each scene left less. No fingerprints, no clear tire tracks. At Berryessa, police found size 10.5 shoe prints, military-style wing-walker boots. A glove, men's size 7, was found near Stein's cab. No DNA then, no matches now. The car door writing at Berryessa and the shirt scrap tied the crimes, but gave no name. I've walked those sites. Berryessa's peninsula feels exposed, the water lapping quietly. Cherry Street is narrow, residential, streetlights dim in 69. The Zodiac chose places where he could move unseen, strike fast. Hartnell's account haunts me. The hooded man spoke softly, almost bored, before the knife came down. Stein's passengers that night included no one suspicious until the last. The teenager's sketch, released October 18th, showed a plain face, glasses, crew cut. It could be anyone. The city was unraveling. The Zodiac's letters fueled panic, his threats vague but vivid. Police worked 24-hour shifts. Toshi and Armstrong pored over reports, interviewed witnesses. Hartnell described a voice unremarkable, no accent. The payphone calls matched, calm, taunting. The killer was close, maybe walking past police lines, reading the headlines he created. He was no longer just Vallejo's problem. San Francisco owned him now. By late October, the Zodiac's pace slowed. No new murders, but the letters kept coming. Each one tightened the noose on the city's psyche. The police had sketches, a voice, shoe prints, and ciphers. They had nothing. The killer was a phantom, stepping into the light only to kill, then fading back. His next move would be words, not blood, but the fear was the same. The clues were there, scattered like ash. They led nowhere. By late 1969, the Zodiac case was a maze of evidence, statements, and dead ends. I've sat with those files, pages worn thin from years of turning. Shell casings, sketches, ciphers, and witness accounts, all pieces of a puzzle with no edges. The police had physical traces, but every lead dissolved under scrutiny. The Zodiac was meticulous, leaving just enough to taunt, never enough to trap. Start with Lake Herman Road, December 1968. 22 caliber shell casings, Winchester Western Super X. No fingerprints. Tire tracks, too faint for a make. Blue Rock Springs, July 1969. .9mm casings, same brand. Michael Mageau's description, stocky, 5 feet 8 inches, brown hair, was vague, his memory blurred by pain. The payphone call, traced to a booth near Vallejo's police station, had no prints. The killer wore gloves, or he was careful. Either way, he was a ghost. Lake Berryessa, September 1969, gave more. Size 10.5 wingwalker boot prints, military surplus, common among hunters and cops. A palm print on the payphone, but no match in any database. The car door writing, dates, times, by knife, was in felt tip marker, untraceable. Brian Hartnell's account was vivid. The hooded man's voice was soft, deliberate, no accent. He described the hood's symbol, a circle with a cross like a gun sight. It matched the Zodiac's letters, his signature, but no one saw his face. Paul Stein's murder, October 1969, left the most. A .9mm casing, same brand as Blue Rock Springs. A men's size 7 glove, black, near the cab. Partial fingerprints on the cab's door, smudged, unusable. The teenager's eyewitness sketch, white male, 35 to 45, glasses, crew cut, was the best lead. Released October 18th, it flooded San Francisco with tips. Every stocky man with glasses was a suspect. None panned out. The bloody shirt scrap, sent with the Zodiac's letter, confirmed he was there. But confirmation wasn't identity. Contradictions piled up. Mageau said the killer's car was a Corvair. Hartnell thought it was a Chevrolet. The teenagers at Stein's scene saw a man walking calmly, but police dogs lost his scent 2 blocks away. The payphone calls, Vallejo, Napa, San Francisco, were always from public booths, always clean. The Zodiac's letters claimed 37 victims by 1970, but only 7 were confirmed. 5 dead, 2 survivors. Was he lying to inflate his myth, or were bodies still undiscovered? I've wondered that for years. The ciphers were the cruelest tease. The 408th, solved in days, promised answers, but gave only madness. The 340, sent November 1969, mocked code breakers for decades until 2020, when it revealed more taunts, no name. A third cipher, the Exorcist letter in January 1974, remained unsolved. Cryptographers found patterns, repetitive symbols, possible anagrams, but no key. The FBI's best couldn't crack them. I've stared at those grids, wondering if they were a distraction, a game to waste our time. Witness statements clashed. Mageau, in shock, gave a vague height and build. Hartnell, clearer-headed, noted the killer's calm, almost mechanical demeanor. The teenagers digitized by the teenager's sketch, yet it never matched anyone close. The police interviewed hundreds, ex-cons, loners, men who looked right. Nothing stuck. The Zodiac's letters described his methods, flashlights, guns, knives, but never his face, his home, his life. What haunts me is the precision. He knew police procedure, gloves, clean phones, no clear tracks. He chose victims with no ties to him, Random, disposable. The contradictions, car models, victim counts, felt deliberate, like he was sowing doubt. I've seen killers plant false leads, but none this bold. He wanted us chasing shadows. The evidence was a trap. Each clue pointed to a man who didn't exist in our files. No fingerprints matched. No suspect's shoes fit the Berryessa prints exactly. The sketch was too generic. The letters, with their misspellings and boasts, were his real weapon, keeping the police reactive, the public terrified. By 1970, San Francisco was a city on edge, and the Zodiac was its phantom architect. The investigation churned on. Toshi and Armstrong followed every tip, from drifters to professors. The clues were solid but slippery, leading to a question that lingered. Was he one man, or a myth grown too large? The answer was out there, in the fog, waiting for a breakthrough that never came. The Zodiac was a shadow with many faces. None of them fit. By 1970, the police had a stack of suspects, each one a dead end. I've read their files, interrogated some myself. Men with grudges, loners with strange habits, faces that matched the sketch. The Zodiac case drew hundreds of names, tipsters, psychics, even neighbors turning on neighbors. San Francisco was desperate for a face to pin to the fear, but the killer stayed a ghost, and the suspects were just men caught in his myth. Arthur Lee Allen was the closest they came. A Vallejo schoolteacher, 36, stocky, balding, glasses. He fit the sketch, the build, the boots, size 10.5 wing walkers like Berryessa. A former Navy man, he knew ciphers, owned guns, lived near the murder sites. In 1971, a friend, Don Cheney, told police Allen talked about killing couples using a Zodiac persona, even targeting school buses. Allen owned a typewriter matching the letter's font, had a watch with the Zodiac's circle cross symbol. He was questioned, searched. No hard evidence, no prints, no murder weapons. His handwriting didn't match the letters. Allen denied everything, calm, almost amused. I met him once, late in the case. His eyes were cold, but his words gave nothing away. Then there was Rick Marshall, a San Francisco projectionist. He lived near Paul Stein's murder site, had a history of odd behavior, and knew ciphers from his Navy days. Witnesses placed him at a theater where the Zodiac's Exorcist letter referenced a film. His handwriting was close, but not exact. No physical evidence tied him. Marshall faded into the background. Another name crossed off. Others surfaced. Lawrence Kane, a drifter with a criminal record, looked like the sketch and lived in Vallejo. A victim's sister thought he stalked Darlene Ferrin. No proof. Ross Sullivan, a librarian, matched the build and had mental health issues. He worked near a Zodiac letters postmark. Handwriting again didn't match. Dozens more, mechanics, teachers, ex-cops, came and went. Each had a piece of the puzzle, proximity, a temper, a vague resemblance. None had the whole. Motive was the real mystery. Serial killers usually follow patterns: lust, revenge, power. The Zodiac's victims were random. Young couples, a lone cabbie. No theft, no sexual assault. David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were kids, no enemies. Darlene Ferrin was outgoing, maybe knew her killer, but no clear link. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were students, strangers to Vallejo. Paul Stein was just a driver, wrong place, wrong time. The Zodiac's letters claimed he killed for pleasure, to collect slaves for an afterlife. Was it true, or a mask for something mundane? Jealousy, a grudge, a need to feel superior? I've seen killers driven by less. A slight, a rejection, a twisted fantasy. The Zodiac's control was his hallmark, the ciphers, the taunts, the clean getaways. He wanted to be feared, not caught. But why these victims? Darlene's husband thought she knew someone shady, maybe a stalker. Hartnell said the killer seemed calm, like it was routine. The letters hinted at a man who studied police, planned escapes. Was he a cop? A soldier? Just a nobody with a god complex? I leaned toward the last. Police chased motives that didn't exist. Alan's friend claimed he hated women, but the murders weren't sexual. Marshall's odd hours fit a night prowler, but no evidence placed him at the scenes. Kane's criminal past suggested violence, but nothing tied him to the letters. The Zodiac's randomness was his shield. He didn't know his victims, or if he did, he buried the connection deep. What gnawed at me was the profile. White, male, 30 to 45, educated, likely local. He knew Vallejo's back roads, San Francisco's alleys. He wrote like someone who read, formal, but with deliberate errors, like Paradise. He understood ciphers, guns, knives. He was disciplined, never leaving a clear print or weapon. Yet he craved attention, mailing bloody cloth, demanding front-page coverage. That need for fame was his flaw. It kept the case alive, gave us leads, but never a name. The suspects faded, one by one. Alan died in 1992, still a question mark. Others moved, vanished, or proved alibis. The police had sketches, prints, a voice, but no one to match them to. The Zodiac was out there, maybe reading his own headlines, maybe dead. The suspects were shadows of him, but none carried his weight. The Zodiac slipped through every net. He remains a ghost. By 1971, the investigation was a machine running on fumes. Detectives Toshi and Armstrong had thousands of tips, hundreds of interviews, and a growing pile of Zodiac letters. Each one mocked them, dangling clues that led to dead ends. I've walked those case files like a graveyard, each page a tombstone for a lead that died. The breakthrough we needed, the one that could have named him, never came. But there were moments, fleeting, where the truth felt close. One came in March 1971. A letter to the Los Angeles Times claimed the Zodiac killed Sherry Jo Bates, a Riverside student stabbed in 1966. The handwriting matched, the tone was his, taunting, precise. Riverside police had a suspect, a local man, but no arrest. The letter suggested the Zodiac was tying up loose ends, claiming old crimes to inflate his legend. Was it really him? Bates' murder was messier, more personal than his later work. I lean toward no, but the doubt lingers. It was a glimpse of his reach, his need to control the narrative. Another moment, Kathleen Johns, a young mother, reported an abduction in March 1970 near Modesto. A man forced her car off the road, drove her around for hours, then let her go. She identified him from the Stein sketch. The Zodiac later claimed this in a letter, but Johns' story had gaps. Her car wasn't burned, as he described. Was he toying with us again, claiming crimes he didn't commit? The case was never officially linked, but it showed his shadow stretching beyond San Francisco. The ciphers were the real trap. The 340, unsolved until 2020, promised answers, but gave only boasts. I kill for pleasure. I'm not afraid. The Exorcist letter of 1974, with its movie references and victim counts, hinted at a man obsessed with culture, media, control. Cryptographers burned years on those symbols. I did too, late nights, coffee cold, seeing patterns that weren't there. The Zodiac knew we'd chase them. He planned it. Police tried everything. Handwriting analysis, slanted, erratic, but no match. Voice recordings from payphone calls, calm, unaccented, useless without a suspect. The Stein sketch was plastered everywhere, but every tip fizzled. Arthur Lee Allen stayed the focus. In 1974, a search of his trailer found guns, ciphers, bloody knives. No direct link. His death in 1992 closed that door, but DNA tests in 2002, on stamps from Zodiac letters, didn't match him. The case went cold. The turning point, if you can call it that, was the silence. After 1974, the letters stopped. No confirmed murders, no new ciphers. Had he died? Moved? Grown bored? I've seen killers stop when the thrill fades or life intervenes. Jail, family, age. The Zodiac was 30 to 45 in 1969, so by 1980, he'd be middle-aged, maybe settled, maybe dead. But his silence was loud. San Francisco never forgot. What haunts me is the why. Most killers leave a trail: anger, lust, greed. The Zodiac left only his ego. His victims were random, his methods varied, his escapes clean. He wanted fame, fear, control, but never revealed himself. Was he Alan, laughing behind those glasses? A cop, knowing our moves? Just a man who blended into the crowd? The files don't say. They never will. The case remains open, a wound that won't heal. 7 confirmed victims, 5 dead. Maybe more, unclaimed, buried in his boasts of 37. Police still get tips, old neighbors, new theories, DNA tech promising miracles. Nothing sticks. The Zodiac planned his myth too well. He's a shadow we'll chase forever, a name without a face. I've spent years with this case, its weight heavier than the files. The Zodiac wasn't just a killer, he was a puzzle, each murder a piece that didn't fit. I see David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen parked in the dark, unaware. Darlene Ferrin's smile, silenced. Cecilia Shepard screams at Barry Essa. Paul Stein's blood on the cab seat. They deserve justice, but justice needs a name. The Zodiac gave us ciphers instead. What's left is a question. Is he still out there, old now, reading his own legend? Or did he take his truth to the grave? The fog of San Francisco hides many things. Maybe it hides him still. Truth, like justice, can be a ghost too. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video.